Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm actually joined by my good friend, Billy Carson of Forbidden Knowledge. Billy, how are you?
Hey, fantastic. Thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, it is always fantastic having you on. It's going to be a powerful episode, no doubt, no doubt. What do you want to try to catch people up about what you've been up to? There's a lot of things that I want to ask you, but I think for the most part, why don't you let people know what you're up to these days?
Yeah, up to a whole lot, man. Very, very, very busy. As we were talking a little earlier, I've been doing about 20-hour days between helping the hurricane victims, going to stores and buying food. It's so funny because I keep buying food and supplies for other people, and when I get home, I have nothing to eat because I can't do something for myself to eat. So I have to run out again and get something to eat. Oh my God, I said I just dropped off 2,000 cans of this and 10,000 cans of this and I have nothing here. But I've been doing that, and that's been taking up a lot of time and driving to all these different drop-off locations. But right now there's about 6 pallets of goods in Texas that are going to be picked up tomorrow by a relief company, and they're going to photograph it and videotape it for us so that we can share it on the Forbidden Knowledge and everything else. I've had some issues with getting somebody to go out that far. Yeah, man. So finally, I got somebody to go grab the rest of the stuff out there that I've got. So that's going to be good. And then we have the Hurricane Maria Fund, which I started to help the people in Puerto Rico, and that fund's done pretty well. And as in both funds, I put in $10,000 of my own money. So I gave Houston $10,000. I was the first person to charge credit card in there, and then I was the first person to charge my card in the Maria Fund. And right away went to work, gathering supplies. And it's a big issue going on. People are saying, "Oh my God," because of the Jones Act and everything else. But the Jones Act has been rescinded today, thankfully. And a lot of people's supplies have been held up at the port. But the connections that I have bypass the port because I'm actually connected with people that when their goods get there, they go directly to the Cheesecake Factory because that's my plug in Puerto Rico. So
there you go.
The Cheesecake Factory gets everything, and then the people at the Cheesecake Factory call their friends, relatives, and everybody else to come and share the stuff. And they've been very helpful with this. And those people are fortunate that they're with the Cheesecake Factory because when the storm hit and everything went down, of course, the cheesecake was loaded with food for weeks of food.
Yeah.
And they gave them all the food. They said, "Guys, you take it, cook it, eat it, serve it, whatever you got to do. Take care of yourself." So the employees immediately had access to all of that good food, a lot of it, and they've been going through that. There's only a little bit left now, but supplies are getting dropped off every Monday. So like tomorrow, I'm going to go again, drop off some more supplies, and then Monday, the private jet for the Cheesecake Factory actually flies to Puerto Rico, and then they take the stuff straight to the Cheesecake Factory, all the supplies. So our stuff is getting delivered, whereas unfortunately, a lot of people's stuff is just sitting there at the port, But that won't be much longer.
Well, that's one for people that, let's set on a foundation. For people that don't know, the Jones Act is something that, like you said, did get lifted today. It limited the amount of ships in between the coasts and flag vessels. This is good because now this gets the supplies to people. What we're basically talking about is what's going on post Hurricane Maria, post Hurricane Irma, and what's happening in Puerto Rico. I think, and this is why I wanted to have you on, we need to set a foundation of what's happening because why do people have a hard time trying to get donations? Why are people having a hard time getting these supplies? Well, first off, you have places like Red Cross, the Salvation Army, FEMA, who are not necessarily getting the supplies to the people, and if they are, they're not necessarily rationing them out to the population centers. There's some weird stuff going on as far as that whole department. And so what's happening is individuals like yourself and other people in this conscious community who are rising up, being leaders, are having to do this. Like you said, coming up with Cheesecake Factory connections to try to distribute food. That's crazy, but that shouldn't happen. There should be things in place that basically feed the people. But I'm sure you've seen, with Hurricane Harvey, some of the victims that have been in these FEMA camps, the crazy things that are going on there. And now we have what's happening in Puerto Rico, and we'll get into this throughout the entirety of the show because you're over here all over the place. Like you said, working 20-hour days. But I think we need to set a foundation for where we're going to go with this episode, because people might understand, but the amount of work that you have to put in just to try to help other people, like you said, you're hardly eating for yourself. You're trying to make sure this food gets to where it goes.
Right. It's a lot of work, man. I mean, the amount of phone calls, the amount of meetings, running across town. But luckily today I made 2 really strong contacts, 2 more private jet contacts, because I always want to have a backup in case one thing doesn't work. The first one that I had, the first drop, it was a good connection to get the goods there, and the goods actually got through on the very first couple of deliveries. The next one is Cheesecake Factory route, and then now I have another person with a private jet that's also going and getting directly into the city, because he has people there that have vehicles that can come pick up the cargo, and it's a private jet. Private jets seem to do better than boats, obviously because of the laws and everything else. And they're able to get stuff right into the city and right into the people like almost immediately. So that's been the best way to get stuff in. Even Pitbull sent 2 of his own private jets out there recently to take supplies and so forth. So you see, and generators, so that's what what it's all about. Another friend of mine, Franco, who's also have a lot of family in Puerto Rico, I helped him set up a campaign for generators. So far he's been able to buy 4 generators, and I'm going to get those on a Cheesecake Factory jet or either this secondary jet that I connected with today, and have them taken over, man, and dropped off right to the people. So it's been wild between the 2 hurricanes, and making sure all the supplies get to where they're going and everything else, and even just the 2 tons of supplies in Houston. It's been so difficult to find somebody that can get a U-Haul truck, drive 45 minutes. It's not that far, but 45-minute drive to get these supplies, but then have the strength and the help to get these 6 pallets and so forth loaded onto a truck and then take them to get them. So it's a big process, but it's getting done tomorrow, thankfully. So I'm so happy about that. And then I've been writing my books. As you know, I'm one of the very first speakers at the African American speakers at the Conscious Life Expo since they've been open for 15 years. Now I just found out that somebody.
Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And that's huge. I mean, because
that is massive.
It's like, and I've been
opening a door.
6 years now. And I keep going, and I'm going, man, there's no African American speakers on this thing at all, not even one. So it's like, wow, one guy can't get in, and so I was so happy today.
Now you opened up the door,
The door's open now, and just guess what? Guess who else is in there now? So now it's 2 of us at the same time, man. John Staley.
There you go.
And the Miami Heat and whoever else, and LA Lakers, and he played for several teams. But he got his championship rings with Detroit. He'll also be speaking there, most likely about veganism, because he's a big vegan. Literally and figuratively. This 7-foot-tall vegan. But so he'll be there as well, man. So I get to hang out with John Sally and all my other good friends, that normally come there, and really, we'll have a good time as speakers and lecturers. They gave me a decent-sized room, so I'm excited about that. They didn't give me a hole-in-the-wall room, so I got some space to fill that room up, get some people in there. At least they think, they think something of me. They think I'm going to be able to bring some people in. So I'm going to be promoting that very, very heavy. And as a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is, as soon as the website's done, it's consciouslifeexpo.com. Every year they update it with the new speakers. Right now you can see my face on there, but you can't click on it to get to my bio. You can't order lecture tickets. My tickets are only $25. So, I'm a first-year speaker there and everything else. Probably by the 3rd year, it could be as much as 50 or 60, depending on how big I become, I guess. But right now, they're only $25 to attend my lecture. Pre-order, you get them before you get there, I believe. And it'll also be live streaming as well. So they're putting me in a live streaming room, which they normally don't do. But they know I have a lot of fans all over the world from Forbidden Knowledge, so they figured if I get on the live stream, some people who can't come from the UK will live stream it. So that's going to be fantastic. And we're also going to have a conscious concert there with Donnie Arcade, from my record label, my conscious label. Yeah, so Donnie Arcade, Cruz, a new group that I signed called SOTOV, and some features that we have that actually live out there, like Kate Cola and Richard Wagner and Elijah Ray, and all these guys, man, and girls, they're going to be, you know, there helping and performing as well. So that's going to be exciting, a conscious concert. So it'll be the first conscious concert, and it'll be the first time that I get a chance to speak there. So that's going to be huge, and that's why I'm trying to get my books completed so that I can have the book signing, because that's one of the things, you know, that they wanted me to have, to be able to sign my, you know, in writing. They want me to be able to have the book signing there too. So I'm going to have that done.
So you're over here shipping food to Puerto Rico. You're over here helping people from Hurricane Maria. You're writing books. You're going to be up here at the Conscious Life Expo. You're over here literally doing the conscious entrepreneurial life is what it sounds like.
Yeah, nonstop, in day out, man. Fortunately, you know, fortunately and unfortunately, I'm not married. I was married, but I'm divorced, and I'm happily divorced. But it happened at the right time, because right now I'm able to really not have to worry about, you know, family. All of my kids are grown, so I don't have to worry about, you know, the kids. I don't have to worry about paying attention to a wife. I can focus on helping as many people as I can, and that's pretty much what I've just dedicated my time to, getting that done, writing my books. I also have a few other businesses. As you know, I have the record label, which is right now blowing up. I mean, the numbers are, we're in the 3-4 million, you know, range for Donnie Arcade, you know, for units moved and played. I mean, this is just like beyond my wildest imagination. You know, we have a chance, I think, this year still, or maybe even the beginning of next year, to get a song that, you know, that'll hit the Billboard charts.
One of his songs has like over 100,000 views on YouTube alone.
Yeah, the songs with over 100,000. A few songs on there. I think Carpe Diem has over 300,000 on YouTube. Yeah. But on Spotify, we are really blowing up on Spotify. I mean, we've got, in our top 5, we got a 700 and something thousand, 370,000, 200 and something thousand, you know. Another song that was released a week and a half ago, Walk Like Egyptian, is already up to 45,000 in a week and a half. That's going to hit 100,000 in a few more days. You know, so yeah, it's phenomenal. So
I definitely want to touch on like the conscious culture and all the things you're doing. But one of the things I want to highlight beforehand is like all of this work that you're putting in with this Puerto Rico and with this relief fund. One of the things that I've talked about like on the show is how with places like San Martin, with Puerto Rico, you know, they've actually been able to confiscate. They've been able to confiscate people's boats, commandeer them, you know, confiscate any kind of materials that people have, any kind of resources and things like that people are bringing. I think it's just crazy that you're able to get generators, food, beans, you know, all kinds of different supplies, but via private jets. I think that's genius to me, because we see all these things happening with the airport systems, all these things with the ports, but you're like literally bypassing that and going straight to the people. I don't know. For me, that's much more impacting than what we see going on with FEMA and all these other big organizations.
They're just robbing. You know, FEMA is a first of all, they're a multi-trillion-dollar criminal. And they find ways to siphon money and don't do hardly anything except build graves. I mean, it's all they bodies and graves is all they get done. You know, when the people are ushered into these shelters, they're barely given any food. The majority of the food goes to the responders and the police. But they got to realize the people who are the victims got to eat too. Yeah. You know, they don't feed the people. They throw away their food. You know, it's just crazy, man.
I noticed that, you know, whenever Hurricane Harvey hit, I noticed you were one of the first people to put up that clip. Or actually, you captured that clip of that police officer talking about how the Red Cross was doing illegal organ harvesting. The same way they were out there in Katrina. And it's just like subtle things have popped out since then. You know, people being ushered into these FEMA camps, people being lost in there, you know, people disappearing, cops disappearing them, you know, being given wristbands. There's a lot of sketchy stuff surrounding FEMA right now.
Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, people who are in there then get questioned and found out that they may have a warrant or anything like that. They disappear. Where are they taking these people? To never be seen again, you know? And it's another Katrina all over again, where you have thousands of people. I'm telling you, by the time this thing is all said and done, it could be upwards of 5,000 to 10,000 people between the two locations that just vanish. And where are they? You know, we know where they are. They've been sold into sex slavery, organ trafficking. These things are more real than, you know, than the cell phone or the camera or the laptop you're looking at this video in now. What we're talking about are real facts. Organ trafficking is a hardcore truth, and unfortunately, the United States government backs it and is involved in it. And Cynthia McKinney, former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney, verified this while she was in Congress at a live open session, as well as since she left Congress as well. You know, she even talked about the 5,000 men that got shot in the head during Katrina.
I think people don't even understand like the scope that's still happening with Pedogate, with Pizzagate, and all these other people that are continuing child trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking. All these things, like you said, are very real. This has been that underbelly, and not necessarily opportunities, but crises like this occur, and they do that. They go through, they harvest organs, or they find people that, like you said, have warrants, have any kind of legal issues, legal complications, or any people that, you know, are being targeted, you know, these these targeted individuals, and they find the perfect opportunity. And I don't think a lot of people understand that they can go inside these perfectly covert shelters as they have it out there, and then they can never come out. I mean, they give them, as you put on your page. I noticed this, and it wasn't something I was able to capture, but you noticed that they were trying to give people tetanus shots. They were trying to go to the shelters, and I was like, you know, that's sketchy. That's really sketchy.
They were trying to make it mandatory. I mean, and these people, they don't know any better, so they think, oh yeah, I got to get this tetanus shot. Meanwhile, which one of the random ones that are going to put you down, put tracking devices in you? You have no idea what's in those shots. No idea. You know. No idea. You know. And then they started spraying the people in Houston.
They started spraying nail. They started spraying chemtrails to try to help, again, weather modification, geoengineering, to try to help combat the mosquitoes and whatever other bacteria came there. I mean, look at the chemical spill out that was there. You caught it on your page with the Arkema, Texas plant. You know, this is, if anything, let me ask you a quick question. And I'm sure I already know the question, or I already know the answer. HARP. Do you think that was it? You think it was HARP, chemtrails, and weather modification?
Without a doubt. I mean, like I did a video on my YouTube channel the other day talking about what's happening weather-wise and geologically on this planet. I really feel that there's a combination of a few things taking place. The first thing I believe is that there is a natural global warming occurring, which is going to create more geological situations with weather, okay? And that warming period that we're in right now is not because of exhaust fumes coming out of your car and spray cans and all this, and cows passing gas. It's from gravitational waves, and these gravitational waves are coming from what NASA calls the ninth planet. The ancients call it the 10th planet. It's a brown dwarf star, Nibiru, exactly, Nibiru, planet X.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. It's approximately 4 to 6 times larger than Jupiter. It's a failed star, but it has the same gravitational mass as our sun, even though it's much smaller. And this thing orbits our sun every 3,600 years or so. And it's right now currently out past Pluto, but the waves that it's emanating are heading inward towards all the inner planets, all the moons, and that's why all the ice caps are melting on all the planets, all the ice caps are melting on the moons. There's liquid water confirmed on the moon, our moon here, and our ice caps are completely almost gone. And this happens every so many years because of these gravitational waves, and it's going to continue happening because it's a cycle. Now, what happens is that creates more dramatic weather situations, plus it also creates an unstable geology with regards to tectonic plates and everything else. Now,
what happened in Mexico?
Yeah, exactly. But I think what happens is our government, now they slip under the cover of geological, disasters occurring naturally that look natural, and then they enhance them, or they play with them, or experiment with them. You have to. You spend trillions of dollars on this equipment. You have to use it. And you have to experiment with it, but how can you do it in a way where you're not, alerting anybody that you're using it? You go under the cover of something else happening. It's almost like somebody slips into a play, and they're to commit an assassination. I've seen a movie like this, and they wait for a big bang or a boom to occur on the stage so that they can make the snatch or to make the shot or whatever it is, you know, because nobody can tell that this person really just shot somebody in another room because the sound of the bang went off at the same time as the bang on the stage. So I believe that they utilize these naturally occurring geological situations, and they enhance them, they play with them, they steer them. I looked at Hurricane Maria in the ionosphere, and I was tracking all that data that was coming in almost in real time, and this hurricane goes from a 1 to a 5 in one night. Okay? The ions and everything else increase, the temperature above the storm increases. I'm like, wait a minute, what in the world is going on? How can this be happening this quick above the storm, not under the storm? Because we're taught that the storm is getting the energy from the warm water, and that's what's fueling it. But in this particular case, all the energy was coming from above the storm. That tells me Harper's involved or some type of high altitude
laser
device. Exactly. And then they steer these things, they play with them. And I think that they experiment. I think that even the earthquakes in Mexico could be a side effect of experimentation. It could be a direct attack by, Trump. I mean, we don't know, man. I mean,
so
we just don't know.
You pointed out something very interesting right there. You were talking about how the heating came from the top instead of from the bottom. Right. Do you think that's lasers from the space, from the sky?
Right.
Do you think that's the weaponization of space that we're starting to talk about more so? And do you also think CERN kind of played a part in this as well? Because we haven't really heard a lot from them, and I've kind of noticed the same type of trend whenever they accelerate CERN. There's a lot of geological changes that we're talking about as well. There's earthquakes, there's lightning storms, there's fires, there's weird geological things that happen like that as well. Do you think that could have played a part in it as well?
Forbidden knowledge. 528 DNA. forbidden knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that, well, let me go to the CERN question first. The CERN, I really do believe that something that they've been doing could have caused the massive mud landslides in Asia and Sierra Leone, and all these earthquakes that keep happening on that side of the world. I go to the USGS site on a daily basis, and earthquakes are increasing and increasing and increasing and increasing. Mm-hmm. And I think, man, it's getting to the point now where there's literally an earthquake every second. And the Philippines is taking a beating. I mean, soon the Philippines might eventually sink. But I do think that something that they're doing over there could be causing these quakes and enhancing what would normally be something that wouldn't be as bad geologically. I think whatever they're doing now there is enhancing it or making it worse. They got a lot of crazy experiments going on out there that they don't tell anybody about, besides that they're just smashing protons. Well, listen, guys, he's not just smashing protons. I mean, there's giant tablets in that facility leaning up against the wall with illegible writing on them that looks like Proto-Sumerian but not quite Sumerian, almost Chinese but not quite Chinese. And there's about 10 of them stacked up. They're giant tablets. During an actual like a field trip through there, and a few years ago, some people took some snapshots of them and said, "Can anybody decipher these things?" And nobody to date can decipher what's on those gigantic tablets. They almost look like Stargate symbols. It's bizarre, man.
No, I'm right there with you. That's why I'm like, this type of stuff. What I think we're talking about, and we cover this all the time, is the paradigm shift, like the transformation of the age, the moving of the scale, so to speak. And you pointed it out before, how they're basically piggybacking off of these naturally occurring events, and how they're manipulating it. Taking a level 1 hurricane, a category 1 hurricane, and then manipulating it, enhancing it, with lasers, vibrating at frequencies with these different types of things, and then enhancing it. They're doing the same types of things with these I don't want to say cosmic events, but these things that are happening within our time frame. And I feel like that's what's happening now. So with CERN, we're also seeing that happen. They're trying. I don't want to say they're trying to bridge reality or trying to or trying to bring forth demons, but there's different things that go on with those kinds of mechanics. And I'm not trying to say that CERN had like a point with Hurricane Harvey or Hurricane Maria, but I think it's important that we talk about these types of things because they're very real. But I am trying to say that they are capable of weather modification, and that these things are happening within our time frame, like this phase that we're in. Mm-hmm. I think, and you brought this up before with the Stargates. Yeah. I think what we are seeing through this paradigm shift is just that, a new geological epoch, a new geological age. What do you think about all the other militarization that we've seen through Puerto Rico, through Florida, and even in some areas of Texas? What do you think about that?
I think it's, again, more testing protocols, more testing how to take over and take control of an area. How many people can be brought under control in a specific region or area in a short period of time? How many people will follow the orders? How many people will just tuck their tail and do what they're told? It's just part of the practice. Even this hurricane destroying Puerto Rico, it's going to become a military practice. Literally, they're going to go there and practice again in Puerto Rico. And unfortunately, a lot of people in Puerto Rico are going to get killed by military. I mean, I'm telling you, by the military, they're going to get killed. There's going to be curfews and this and that going on, and people are going to come out, or people, whatever happens. But just like during Hurricane Katrina, after it was all done, said and done, and they put martial law out there, they were killing 5 to 6 people a day out there, man, in New Orleans. You know, the military. This stuff never makes the news, but they did it. So it's going to happen. The same thing is going to happen in Puerto Rico. Now, Puerto Rico had a very bad gang violence problem. The kids out there were literally out of control. I will admit that. They were running the streets. They were killing people left and right. They would just shoot you for your shoes or whatever. It was getting pretty bad in the inner area of, inland in Puerto Rico, away from the tourist area. And some of those people are, obviously have survived. So if you have that mentality before a destruction and catastrophe, you're going to definitely have an enhanced mindset to pillage and steal and rape and everything else. So that will enhance the negative problem a little bit more. The fact that these people are on the loose and these people are looking to harm and damage and take what they need and what they want. So it's going to be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these people, try to harbor or take a hold of, some supply vessels, or not vessels, but the drops, and then try to sell them, instead of giving them. It's just going to be. It's going to be interesting to see how this interaction happens with the military and some of these
civilians.
Civilians. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting, man. It's going to get touchy. I'm telling you.
So would you say that you kind of see like a civilian versus the government as in terms of survival? Because you have people, who don't want to go to these FEMA camps, who don't want to go to these shelters, who don't want to be processed, basically, and be rationed out food, like some third world dictator communist ship. They don't want that. They want to actually go through the city, prepare themselves. Do you see that kind of forming between Puerto Rico and possibly even some areas of Florida?
Well, I don't know about the Florida, because there's a lot of money in the Key West and a lot of money in Naples, so I think they're going to be okay. I think where it's going to be in Puerto Rico, and I think that when they had the dam burst, that was an unfortunate situation because 70,000 Puerto Ricans had to be basically riled up and taken, somewhere. They put them in a camp. Now that 70,000, however many of them they actually were able to get their hands on, that number's going to dwindle by the time it's all said and done. I already know that's not going to end. It's not going to end up at 70,000. It's probably, there's going to be some people missing.
Yep.
And then it's almost going to be like they're prisoners. They won't be able to just freely just go and do what they want to do or go over here or go over there. It's almost like once you get there, it's like you're stuck, And my connection at the Cheesecake Factory was talking to me today and telling me about the people that when the plane went over, they was like, look, get as many people as you can that that need to get out of there and get them to get their paperwork, whatever they have, together so we can get them on the private jet and bring them back. And they did. They loaded that plane up with as many people as they possibly can. And they said they never smelled this type of smell in that plane before, or any people, because obviously they hadn't had baths in days and weeks. There's no flushing toilets, nothing out there. There's nothing. So they said they were so happy. Everybody on that plane was so happy just to get a baby wipes. They hadn't had anything clean and wet like that just to wipe down. That's something that can make them feel better. But they said it smelled like a barn on that flight. That's how stink the people were. They're living in some really bad conditions.
It's a week later, they still haven't really gotten any of the shipments. The ports, they're saying they actually need people to go out there and go get the trucks and go get the storage and go bring it out here. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of destabilization, and a lot of people there, or some people that are still posting there, they're saying that it's going to be a military occupation here shortly. Like we're basically talking about, they can see it happening because the supplies aren't getting to the people fast enough, and people like yourself who are bypassing the government and military, all this, and just getting it straight to people.
Right.
They see that as a threat. I don't know why, but that's crazy. There's literally going to be like a military occupation going on in Puerto Rico to try to help people. And what's crazier is we see this already taking place in Venezuela. And all of these people, they're not going to want to try to stay here. So again, we're going to have people coming into America that are going to be migrating, or at least like trying to infiltrate it. It's massive.
Yeah.
It's massive.
They're trying to get out of there. I mean, the best thing that they can do, if I was there, is I would get my insurance money for my losses, and I would take that insurance check and I would come to America, since I am an American, and I would never go back. I would just abandon my blown away shack. I would never go back, and that's what's going to happen. You're going to find that thousands and thousands of people are going to get their insurance money, come to America, and never go back. You know, at least those are the ones that will probably survive the militarization.
So this is kind of like the mindset that I've been taking on, you know, when looking at like the after effects of all this stuff. You know, I think people kind of picked up immediately that these hurricanes were geoengineered, were weather modification, right? Mm-hmm. Would you say that was their intention, is to create these devastating disasters so that they can come through with this authoritarian rule?
I believe so. See, one thing that people don't understand, storm damage is just as profitable as wars, and it costs a whole lot less. You know, so now you've got the capability of taking the storm, running it into an area of Houston where you can take down all the low-income areas, which is exactly what they did. The ones that survived, then they opened up a dam after the hurricane and flooded those houses anyway, 3,000 something houses, while people were still in them. Unfortunately, now all those people are living in tents. There's a giant tent city out there in Houston, which I'll have some photos of tomorrow. And you know, now here in Puerto Rico, you take this thing, oh, it's only a 1. No, we got to make this thing stronger. Now it goes from a 1 to a 5, and it completely obliterates that place. You know, so now you have fresh real estate, you have militarization, which now makes profit. Just deploying the military makes profit. Just getting a deployment is automatic money. You know, for all these private corporations that own the boots, that own the guns, that own the vests and the tanks and the this and the that, all the meals these guys got to eat, everything they've got to do, the radio they got to talk on, it's all money. Somebody sold that stuff to the United States government, and a lot of these private corporations have a lot of these people from the government, these politicians, sitting on the board of directors, which is a total conflict of interest. But that's what they do. And then they'll send the Carlyle Group in there to build, you know, one school for $5 million and a gas station for $20 million. And that's how they'll suck up all the government funds. And it's it's a dark world, man. It's a very dark world.
I'm wondering,
make money.
I'm wondering where they get all this money from. You know, we've heard how there's been over $700 billion in unpaid mortgages in Hurricane Harvey and Irma disaster areas, and at the same time, we were able to approve $700 billion in military spending. So how does that work? We're approving $700 billion, but we're also in debt $700 billion. But at the same time, we've also reached a national debt of $20 trillion. Like, where's this money coming from? You know, and what is this going to do to society? Like, I see what I call is a socioeconomic reformation, and you talked about that basically way better than I could. You know, the money that people are going to have to spend for the housing, you know, for the food, for the training, for the infrastructure, for the establishment. You know, they wiped out all these low income areas with people in them. It's crazy. But where are they going to get this money from? Yeah, insurance can't pay all that.
Yeah, they're just gonna transfer some digital zeros and ones into another account. The money doesn't exist, and you know, it's just they're going to give authorization for special financing and rates, and then they're going to have a big real estate groups are going to come in. And they're going to get access to these big real estate, corporate real estate dollars, commercial real estate dollars, I should say. And then they're going to rebuild that area and rebuild subdivisions, townhomes, you know, multifamily homes, kind of like what Bill Clinton did when he gentrified New York, was it Harlem? Okay, so they're going to go into that low-income area and they're going to wipe it clean. Forget whatever happens to the people where they're gonna go. Nobody cares. They're gonna rebuild that place up, make it probably a middle income type of place, middle to high income, and then those people will move in there. And now it's been gentrified. You know, the people that were there, the low income people, they'll be gone.
So I have I kind of got a weird kind of question. Have you heard of Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, things like that?
Yeah, I have heard of those things. I haven't really researched them that heavily or dug into them too deep, you know. But it does appear to be very valid and very real.
It seems like, with this gentrification, with the destabilization, using and manipulating these natural disasters so they can come through and kind of, I guess, wipe the slate clean, so to speak, unfortunately, and change these things. Do you think we're kind of seeing that? I mean, this is going to put us in so much debt.
Yeah.
We see the dollar devaluating. Russia and China are dropping the dollar, but I don't know. Like, where do you see this kind of going?
Yeah, I just think that it's this economy is in its last gasp, for air. I don't think we have much more time to go before we have a full and total economic collapse. Even the real estate market, I can see, is building up to a new crescendo. So within the next 5 to 8 years, it might collapse again, and that might be the collapse that triggers the whole economy to collapse. And my biggest thing that I can tell people is when that happens, when the next time this real estate market collapses, everybody needs to go and take all their money out of all the banks and stop paying any mortgage payments, stop paying any taxes, just stop. If there's 320 million Americans, 198 million of those Americans are adults. Out of that, probably about 160 million, 140 million, somewhere in there, actually have jobs. And so if those 140 million people stop paying their mortgage payment, stop paying taxes, then we can reboot the entire system completely from zero, from scratch, on our demands, on what we're looking for in an economy, and maybe flip the script. But if we keep just taking it and thinking that even in the economic collapse, you still got to make a mortgage payment, like all these poor people did during the first collapse. People were trying to literally starving their kids to pay mortgage payments in a collapse. And I'm going, what are you paying your mortgage for? Feed your kids, man. But the fear is in everybody. The fear. And it's got to come to a point where everybody goes and takes their money out of the central banking system and everybody stops paying their mortgage. And when those two things happen at the same time, it don't take 140 million. Even if just 20 or 30 million people did it and had enough guts to do it, we have to reboot the whole system. And the next time the system comes back on, it's going to be based on what the people want, not what the illegal scamming banksters want. And I think that's what we get to.
What are your thoughts on? We see a lot of different countries starting to try to pick up digital currencies. Like Japan. We see kind of China starting to work with it a little bit. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
And I have two different questions, kind of. This digital currency that we see, because I kind of see dollars devaluating. We can only reprint money for so long until it has no value.
Yeah.
What do you think about this digital economy versus these implants that we see people taking? These credit card implants, these RFID chip implants. What do you think about that?
Well, the Bitcoin type money, all the cryptocurrency, that's where everything is going to be moving. I mean, we've already been kind of forewarned that we were going in this direction by sci-fi movies. The sci-fi movies predict everything. I mean, literally everything that's going to happen technologically, economy, it's coming from sci-fi movies. So when you look into the sci-fi movies, you see that in Star Trek, Star Wars, and all these places, they deal in cryptocurrency. They're dealing in digital, invisible money all the time, bits and bytes, and and all. They're not walking around with cash. So I knew it was going to get to that point at some time. Cash, paper money, and all that's going to be, coins gone. That's going to be in museums. So cryptocurrency is going to be the new currency of the future. And I'm pretty sure that the Rothschild and Rockefeller organizations are rushing to figure out how they can profit from that, how they can crash currencies, because you can, you can buy them and you can dump them and you can affect the value of those cryptocurrencies if you have enough money, and they do. So it's going to be going that route. You're going to see a lot of thievery going on as well, because, like, for example, the Russian guy who stole $4 billion in cryptocurrency, how he did it.
If you're laying on your back,
cash, I don't really understand, but they locked him up about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So you're going to have these cryptocurrency hackers. I mean, it's just wild stuff. It's really all sci-fi stuff, but it's very interesting to see. But that's the way it's going to go. And then the people with these chips and implants for, I mean, it's bizarre, man. I mean, anybody that would want to be tracked and like that and watched every step of the way and know all the buying habits of every single thing they do, come on, man, that's horrible. I mean, they'll even know when you go to the bathroom. And there's people that really want to see this happen, and it's pushing, and they're going in that direction so hard that eventually we may get to a society where you have to walk around with a chip to be able to be considered a first-class citizen. So, man, count me out, man. I'm exiting the Matrix. I'm just surfing on the Matrix right now. I'm not playing that game.
Yeah, right. I'm right there with you. I see, because I see this kind of, and I want to kind of get your thoughts on this too later on. I see this kind of forming, like a natural born humans versus these technologically augmented humans versus these genetically modified humans, and then you got robots. This is our future. Like you said, these sci-fi futures, these sci-fi movies, they kind of predicted the reality that we're living in.
Yeah.
But all of this stuff is intertwined. So what do you think about that being the future of these cyborgs, these transhumans? Do you see that kind of forming, or do you see us having like an awakening or a shift, so to speak? What do you think about that?
It's going to happen. I mean, we are having an awakening and a shift. Technology is always going to continue to progress because we are just like the entity or entities that created this realm. Then we had people in the realm that now have the creation gene or DNA in them, so they created other things, including genetically modifying us to create us into this biological avatar that we have right now, which is really just, we're nothing more than a biological robot as it is. And now we ourselves are creating, genetic hybrids and modifications and everything else. So I think the route that it's going to end up going is that we ourselves, we meaning these scientists that are involved in this, would love this to create, have their own creation that they could say, I took part in creating this, even though it could outdo a human, it could outthink a human eventually, and be stronger than a human. I think they're going to allow it to happen anyway, and we could be in a situation where, well, after we get done beating the oligarchy, now we got to figure out how to beat the robots. I mean, it could be
the technocracy.
Yeah.
So
get over one hump and another hump is right there in your face.
This is another reason, why I don't necessarily touch racism and all the other like distractions on the page. I feel like, we got to worry about the machines and all this other stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, but apparently Russia and China are working on a lunar base. Have you seen more developments as far as this breakaway civilization kind of forming? Because I think when we see all these natural disasters and things unfold here on the planet, all I keep thinking about is that movie Elysium, that reality Elysium, where they jettison themselves off into space and just have all kinds of natural disasters unfold here, as predicted by the Georgia Guidestones, and all kinds of other strange things like that. Do you see this breakaway civilization forming more?
Well, it's fully formed, man, and it's bigger than anybody ever thought. It's not only just out there on Mars, which people can't believe it's just, how can you be on Mars? Well, guys, NASA has already released, European Space Agency has already released that there's free-flowing billions of tons of water on Mars. Mars is 99 degrees at the equator in the summer, okay? And in the winter, Detroit is colder than Mars, so than a day on Mars. So Mars is very habitable and very warm, and all the ice caps are melted, giving it tons and tons and tons of water. And it has an atmosphere. It has a slightly weaker magnetosphere, but it does have something called bow shock as it breaks through the cosmic rays. And this bow shock, from the spin on its axis as it orbits the sun, it bends the cosmic rays around the planet. So you still have the effect of having a magnetic field, even though you really don't have a very strong one. And there's millions of people already there building the infrastructure. Unfortunately, based on my research, some of those people are abducted people and under some type of control to be used as, if you want to call it slaves or whatever you want to call it, along with people that volunteered to go. Police officers that come forward stating that they have found notes, and one particular doctor in Seattle disappeared, left a note, said he was promised a better life on another planet, even left his kids behind. So the breakaway civilization is 1,000% real. Now, there's more evidence of it. recently, the United States military has a plane. It's a private spaceship that they launched publicly in daylight, broad daylight. But when it launches, it disappears. It's the X-37B. It disappears into space and it doesn't come back for 2 years. Okay, we just had one come back after 700 plus days in space on a top secret mission. What did it take up in that cargo area, and how far did it go, and who did it take it to? Those are the questions. You know, people are so caught up. Oh, we never went to Mars. We never went to the moon. No, guys, we went there. You've been lied to about that. They made it look like a Hollywood show. They don't want you to see what's up there. They keep telling you about life 20 million light years away, and we found an exoplanet. No, there's people right above our heads, and the elites are very well aware of a lot of the geological disasters on this planet and how they're going to increase over the next 20 years. And this is one of the main reasons why they're trying to get off of this planet. There's a gigantic asteroid or comet called Apophis that was discovered by Russia many years ago. I've been tracking it since 2008. Well, it slipped through a gravitational keyhole, I think it was 2013, and it might hit the Earth in around 2025 or 2027. So this is why there was an urgent mission to land a rocket booster or thruster on a moving comet to see if we can shift its orbit. And they've been trying to do this now for the last few years because they have to figure out how to shift the orbit of this object before it strikes the planet. So it's just one of many, many problems we have. Yeah, exactly. And this is why they want to get off this planet. Elon Musk is trying to get the hell out of here, and he ain't coming back. At first he was talking about 80,000 people. When he saw how easy it was to sell the tickets, he's like, I could take 1 million now. So he's going to try to take 1 million people over the course of 10 years off this planet, one-way trip. interesting.
I see. What's crazy is I kind of see like with Agenda 2030, with Agenda 21 and 2050, all these other things that they have unfolding, as well as this breakaway civilization. I see them kind of trying to put us into these population centers, these smart cities, these grids or these domes, and at the same time they're trying to jettison themselves off into space to where they either leave us here or they basically watch us kill ourselves and then come back down as the new saviors. What do you think about the idea of them making themselves aliens? I mean, with all the chemtrails, all the GMOs, the fracking, the fracked water, everything that we see happening here, the vaccines, everything.
It's possible, man. I mean, one of the things that Werner von Braun, which is the inventor of the space rocket, that's responsible for for us actually being able to leave this planet in a rocket ship. He was one of the very first people that can invent one that was stable enough to travel 33 times the speed of sound that can break Earth's gravity. And people don't even know that that's what the true meaning of the Freemasons is. Freemasonry has nothing to do with anything except hiding information, secret information into stonemasonry. But the top secret, the highest level secret of masonry, the 33rd degree level, is the secret about leaving this planet, which we have to travel 33 times the speed of sound to escape Earth's gravity. That's the true ultimate secret of the Freemasonry, is space travel. It's just, man, it's just
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this, and I think this is why what we're talking about is, to me, the last phase of this agenda, the end game. I think, if anything, this is why they throw out flat Earth right now. If they can keep us distracted on this psyop, they're not going to have people trying to get off the Earth. They're not going to have people trying to prepare. They're going to be focused on this. But at the same time, there's a whole nother agenda that comes with this flat Earth mindset that's going on. It's wild. But what I see happening is them literally. It's scary. It is. What I see happening is they're changing our mindset. They're destroying spirituality. But they're forcing us into physicality. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
They're using things like technology. They're using things like all these other natural disasters to eliminate our spiritual aspect, but at the same time trying to get us focused on everything physical. But I know that sounds kind of out there, but there's long-term ramifications with just being physical.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you hit it right on the head. And when you can only focus on the physical reality, which actually truly is an illusion, then they have you where they want you, because now anything they feed you, you're going to eat it. They're going to be able to manipulate you, bend you, mold you, tell you the Earth is flat, and you're going to believe it, put out fake images, and you're going to pass them around. They literally turned this flat Earth thing into a religion. It literally is a religion. There's no doubt in my mind now that it's a religion. There's the people that are on it are the people that are susceptible to fanaticism. They're so into it that you can't even get on a live feed, you can't even get on a post without somebody jumping on going, the Earth is flat, the Earth is flat. It's almost as if they're just robots or programs running through the matrix. They can't even hold themselves together. The topic has nothing to do with that, but they have to blurt it out. Everywhere you have to go. They go into these groups on Facebook just to make a post saying that the Earth is flat. On a post that's talking about, heck, you're talking about a 1966 Chevrolet. I mean, they don't even. They have no discretion. No discretion. It's really it's crazy, because I try to teach the people so they can understand. We knew the Earth was not flat, and we had space and everything else in ancient times. The Earth didn't turn flat until the Vatican took over with the papacy and the Inquisitions, and then for 400 to 800 years, somewhere in that range, they killed over 80 million people and made them think the Earth was flat, or you died. Okay, and everything revolves around us. And then after those, people eventually started dying off, and people started getting fed up enough and realizing, nah, man, you guys are crazy. You can't keep persecuting our scientists and everything else. And eventually, we were strong enough to overcome that and move on. Now we get back to understanding, okay, we lost, 600, 800 years of science now. Now we're trying to get back. We would have already been a spacefaring civilization 300 years ago if it wasn't for the Inquisitions. That's how far advanced we would have been. And the Arabs would have been leading the way with technology. But because of this Now we're digging back up, and as we get back up now to where we're just getting our head clear, here they come with the PSYOP again, the new Vatican, and got these people running around, bumping into walls, saying the Earth is flat, with all these ridiculous explanations as to why it's flat. No science backing whatsoever, just a bunch of YouTube videos, and then you have these paid people like B.O.B. Another guy here. Now he wants 200. He wants his followers to give him $200,000 to prove that the Earth is flat. Well, if you already said the Earth is flat, why do you need $200,000 to prove that the Earth is flat? It sounds more like B.O.B. just needs money in his pocket. He doesn't need to prove the Earth is flat. You can't prove that the Earth is flat. Just stand up a weather balloon with the camera on it and the Bluetooth and take a look, take a snapshot and send it back. You're going to see that the Earth is round. So it's just this psychosis that's going on here, and it's really
that's the best way to call it.
Yeah,
I think that's the best way to call it, is a psychosis.
Yeah.
Because what I see happening, and this is something we talk about a lot on the show, and with you, is this advanced spiritual technology. If they can keep us over here distracted on never getting off of space, never advancing technology, only operating at 140 characters. Apparently Twitter's now letting it be 280 characters, whatever. If they can only have us operate within their platforms, we won't think about or even realize how long history's been going on, the amount of technology that we have around us, what is defined as technology. Like right now, this is pretty basic. If we're not even thinking about, the realms in which technology can interact outside of just physical, spiritual, and mental, how it can even induce, things like an out-of-body experience, we're not really, we're not understanding like the multidimensional nature of humanity. Right. And so this ties into Flat Earth. When people can't see that this is part of it, that we only focus on the physical aspect, that we are only here within this realm, we're not looking outside of everything else outside of this realm, of what just makes this realm. So for me, there's a deeper spiritual aspect when looking at this Flat Earth, because you're right. People get triggered. They see something about space. Heaven forbid I put up a rocket. I'll have the Flat Earth people say, there's no such thing as space. There's no such thing as Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus. No, none of them are planets. None of this is real. Right. And so it's weird. It is very strange to see all this stuff happening.
Can you believe that I had these Flat Earth people arguing on my page with my followers that don't believe the Earth is flat, the sane ones, that satellites don't exist and the hurricanes are fake.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean? How hurricanes are fake?
The news is putting up fake hurricanes. There's no destruction anywhere. It's all fake. It's all fake. It doesn't exist. And I'm going, these people are sick. They're really sick. When you tell me that you see the satellite image of these hurricanes from the top view, and now you're saying that they don't exist because there's no such thing as a satellite, it's scary. And when you talk about lacking in spirituality, it's the ultimate way to devoid somebody of spiritual access, because now, if you don't think that space exists, you don't believe that you can access the spiritual realm, you don't believe that you can astral project, you don't believe that you can remote view, you don't believe you can do anything but walk around like a physical sack of flesh, in the Matrix. When now you've completely limited yourself to, you have no power, you've taken all your own power away from this thought process that nothing exists except for this dome with an ice wall and you, and everything else is nothing there. And we're on the back of a turtle or some crazy stuff. I heard some crazy stuff, but regardless, because you've now erased everything. Nothing exists. Satellite, space, planet, sun. The sun is fake. Now, like you say, you have access to. You can't spiritually access. You can't access any spiritual realms because you don't believe they even exist. You're just a walking, soulless avatar. Just roaming around, blind.
And so that's why, again, and that's why I talk to people about it, say we are living in a dome, what happens when all these chemtrails, everything we're putting off into the air, all the other things that we're doing, the emissions, I guess if you want to call it man-made climate change, I don't want to do that, but what happens when all that bursts our dome? What comes out of there? There's so many different things that I see through it, and it's a distraction. we have bigger issues at play, like weather modification. The accelerating of these hurricanes from a Category 1 to a Category 5, looking at what they can do outside of just discussing whether or not we lived in this enclosed system. It's the ultimate definition, like you said, of cutting yourself off spiritually. You're choosing physicality, and to me that blows my mind. I can't understand it.
Yeah, it's really a shame. Yeah, it really
can you? Because I wanted to talk a little bit more about this advanced spiritual technology while we were here, because this is something that we do. What do you see developing? I kind of see, like we touched on it with the RFID chips and the RFID implants and things like that. What kind of advanced technologies do you think this breakaway civilization does have? Because if they are weaponizing space and colonizing space and things like that, what other technologies come with that? We talked about stargates, teleporting, weather modification. I guess what kind of spiritual technologies or advanced technologies do you think they have?
I think that they definitely have satellite control where they can beam frequencies. Nikola Tesla was able to do this in the late 1800s, early 1900s, where he was actually able to transmit a frequency on the Schumann resonance that can put sounds and words in people's heads. Okay, I think of 8 hertz. So they have, I believe, these mind-altering satellites. May even have some over Earth, but probably most likely over some of these breakaway planets like Mars, for example, where they have complete control, because Mars is kind of an abandoned planet. And I think that to keep these workers moving and going, technologically, they've got all the advanced technology that we should have here in terms of free energy. They have the the box that Google uses. It's I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's this box that actually takes electromagnetic energy out of the air and turns it into electricity. So there's no power station. There's nothing but a box, probably by 30 feet by 30 feet cube, that literally generates the power for the entire Google University. And originally this technology was made for NASA, and what happened was it was supposed to convert carbon monoxide into oxygen, and when the inventor put it together, he accidentally put some of the pieces together in reverse on one of the demos, and they discovered that it created electricity from atmosphere, from nothing. Wow. And that's when they discovered how to make this Google box. It's not called a Google box, but I forget the exact name, but it's called something box. And so they have these up there, I'm sure, because one of the things that even on the NASA site they talk about this box and how it can be dropped off in third world countries, and it'll power the entire country. You don't even need sun, you don't need solar panels, you don't need anything. So obviously I believe that they definitely have these on Mars for sure. And then in terms of other technology, they most likely have 3D printed houses being built right now on a daily basis, building an entire infrastructure of 3D printed houses. There's a Chinese inventor, I think it's China, I'm pretty sure, that it's not Japan, it's China. He's doing, I think, 10 to 12 houses a day with a 3D printer on Earth. And that technology is not new, even though it's being billed as new here. That technology has been around for a while, because I had a friend who was my partner at Fort Terra Nova, the underground shelter, and he actually spent 10 years in an underground base, top secret base. And in that base, he told me that they had everything they needed to build an entire Jeep, for example, whatever they wanted, 3D print. He said, and the wire harness, the dashboard, the door handles, the bolts, every nut, screw, even the tools to put it together, all could be printed from scratch. And that was years, that was in the 1980s. So what they have now up there is unbelievable, unfathomable. They literally can recreate organs, for 3D printers, which we're now getting told that we're doing it here now on Earth. Finally, they've been able to do that. It's nothing new. They can make hearts, lungs, whatever they want. That was going to be one of my questions.
That was going to be one of my next questions. Is do you think they're actually making humans, making their own entities, or making their own aliens?
I believe so. Yeah, I was talking about them expanding. I think one of the things that they're going to be doing for the breakaway civilization is actually developing, genetically modifying people with bigger lungs, so that when they travel to a place like Mars, they actually have, the capability of breathing better, because Mars is a very reduced oxygen atmosphere, as is a lot of these other places that are out there. So I think that they're going to be genetically modifying people to be able to adjust to these different planets and moons for the purpose of not only research, but also even living in these places. And I think that one of the biggest objectives is to break away. And I understand the fact that they want the human race to survive. The part that's not nice is that we don't get a say so on who gets to go and who has to stay and suffer, But they're using all of the
eugenics program.
Yeah, exactly. They're handpicking the people that they want to go. And I got to meet Laura Eisenhower in person. That's Dwight D. Eisenhower's granddaughter. She had for many years been claiming that she was recruited to go to Mars in 2006 to go to a breakaway civilization. And she actually thought that the man that she met and kind of fell in love with, she thought that it was just a natural thing. He was the one that was trying to recruit her to go to Mars. Come to find out, it was all a setup from the beginning. His job was this is some real double agent type stuff or whatever you want to call it. His job was to make her, fall in love with him or be attracted to him and then try to recruit her. He wanted her to go to Mars. And she refused to go and, they left her. But, they came after her hard. I mean, really, really hard for years to get her to go. They were hand-picking specific people for whatever reason, genes, bloodlines, whatever the case may be. But she was one of them that they heavily recruited to go, and she refused to go. Because there was no return. It's a one-way trip, as she said many times. Even in the George Noory interview, he goes, "You may never return." He says, "She says, yeah, I'll never return back to her ever." She decided not to go. So the evidence that is there is very real now. They're terraforming Mars as we speak, I believe, trying to get the atmosphere thicker, trying to create a more habitable atmosphere. And I think this is why you see the date to get there keeps getting pushed back a little bit more here and there, is because they want to make sure that it's at least maximum above 20 feet atmosphere before people get there. Right now, I think it's Earth-like atmosphere at 3 feet. If you're laying on your back, you actually get the same effect of being here directly on Earth in terms of breathing and everything else. Once you stand up, now you have significantly reduced atmosphere and everything else. So they're trying to increase that most likely to 20 feet or higher, and then it'll grow over many, many generations. But I believe that they're trying to get it to at least that point. And they're using some of the experimenting on Earth with this terraforming and with these chemtrails and HAARP and everything else, earthquake machines and weather satellites, because it's like a laboratory. And what they're going to do is take everything they learn here and use it in other places, just like they always do. So that's what it's all about. That's the agenda that they're after, man. It's really, like you say, Elysium, man. It's what it's all about.
It really is. It really is. So, final thoughts. You said you're going to the Conscious Life Expo. You're going to be the first black man there after doing it for 15 years. Tell us about that.
Man, I'm so excited. I'm going to be talking about the Enuma Elish and the 7 Tablets of Creation. And I'm going to take you from before the solar system, the very beginning of the solar system creation, all the way to almost the current day, and let people get an idea of how this thing really happened or how we ended up here and where we really came from and so forth and so on. And man, I'm so excited and pumped about it. And what I'm going to do is as soon as I get the website clicking to where you can actually order the lecture tickets, I'm going to be giving away a 3-day hotel stay certificate that's been given to me, compliments of Meal Wheel mobile app, to everybody that buys a lecture ticket, so that if they can't afford to stay at the LAX Hilton, they can at least still stay in the area and only have to pay room taxes, which is going to come to like, I don't know, $15-20 a day. So everybody that's get a ticket, I'm going to help them with the hotel, man. So we got to pack this room, you know what I mean? We got to pack it. We got to show the people that they love me. They want to come out here. They're interested in coming and attending. And so that way they'll have me back and we can continue to build this and get more people of different, races speaking here, because it's time. It's time.
There you go. And you said you're also working on the book. Is the book going to be at the Conscious Life Expo as well?
Yes, absolutely. The book's going to be there. I should have it done before the Conscious Life Expo happens, and I'll have a book signing at the Conscious Life Expo. Most likely, right before I go up to speak, I'll be at my table doing autograph signing in books. I'll go do the lecture, and then after the lecture, I'll come back down again and do another book signing and so forth. So the books will be there, and then we're also going to have a conscious concert, and we're going to have Donnie Arcade performing, along with Cruz, SOTOV, Kate Cola, Richard Wagner, Elijah Ray, and maybe even Nappy Roots, Grammy-winning Nappy Roots, and anybody else that we can get our hands on before we get there. So we're really excited about that. We don't know exactly what night it's going to be yet. I'm waiting to get the exact night, but it'll be in the night after everybody's already spoken. We'll have one of the rooms, and we'll have a little mini conscious concert, probably for just about 2 hours, and let everybody hear some good conscious music. And so, man, it's gonna be amazing, man. I really can't wait.
Living in a computer simulation, and who's controlling it?
You're doing everything, and also you're doing your Hurricane Harvey fund and your Hurricane Maria fund, as well as your Puerto Rico relief fund as well. Is that right? Is that three?
Absolutely.
Are you doing 3 different funds, or is it 2?
It's just two. The Hurricane
Okay.
Harvey fund, Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Maria. Hurricane Harvey fund is still going. If you go to GoFundMe and type in Billy Carson, you can. I'm pretty sure both of them will pop right up. I actually have a third one, which is Unite the 99. I kind of paused that right now to focus on hurricane victims because I think people, starving to death is a little bit more important than a software program. So temporarily, we're focusing on Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Maria. Hurricane Harvey, I have several tons of goods being picked up tomorrow. I'll be making some posts about that and some video and some images and so forth on Forbidden Knowledge. And Hurricane Maria, so far we've raised $20,500, which is phenomenal. Let's keep going, guys. I'm getting the food and the supplies delivered directly to the people. I just went and bought 300 more flashlights before I came on the show tonight. So I'll be taking those tomorrow. Oh, yeah, man, flashlight with batteries, so I'll be dropping those off tomorrow with my connection that has a plane that goes every Monday to the Cheesecake Factory and takes everything there, bypassing the ports. So we're bypassing the port, bypassing politics, bypassing military, bypassing police.
There you go.
And, the people, man.
I also saw that you were working with Raspy Rawls and helping them out too. So, man, that's awesome. If there's anything I can say, is keep doing what you're doing, because you're already on it, brother. You're already on it.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man. That brother, man, he's a fighter, man. He's out there working. He is. Money. I mean, that's hard work, night and day, day and night. He's doing it, man. He helps so many people,
That's what I'm saying. So, he's out there getting books to people. He's out there getting diapers, towels, everything. We all we got. We're all we got.
We all we got, man. We're literally all we got. I sent them feminine products because that's one of the things they got to have. I sent them feminine products. I sent them water. I sent them, I think it was 200 or 300 toothbrushes, toothpaste, mouthwash kits. Because you got to feel human in some kind of way. Just even wash your teeth, rinse your mouth out. At least get your breath fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Little things that really matter when you're in a situation like that. Take some of the stress away from you. And I sent him some money for his U-Haul truck, so he can have, keep on driving, man, keep on moving, So I appreciate Raspy Rawls, but he's been a real soldier out there.
So final thoughts, what kind of message do you want to send to the people? I feel like you already have, but final thoughts. What do you want to say to the people?
Hey, man, I really want to bring up the whole, Colin Kaepernick thing. I hate to bring it up because, but I think it's really made a ripple in space-time. I think that these events that are occurring, dealing with the whole take a knee and the fact that it's brought so much attention globally to a situation going on in America, but it's gotten so big and it's talked about so much. When these types of things, every time you speak, you're making a ripple into the space-time every single time. You're actually affecting and molding consciousness. And I think because so many people are focusing and thinking about and talking about the same exact thing, that it's creating a big ripple in space-time right now. And I believe that this is a marker for that history is going to look back on. This is going to be a turning point in human consciousness. I think that when we look back and say, when did it really start to turn around? I believe, to be honest with you, crazy enough, that this is going to be the point that they look back at from 50 years, 100 years from now and go, man, I think it started at this point. This is when it really started. Because it's got so many people realizing, and even a lot of people who didn't really realize that they were racist now realize that they were having racist connotations and thoughts, but still claiming to be non-racist. I've had people contact me and tell me they didn't really understand what's going on. And then you still have, but I think that a lot of people now are focusing on ending racism versus just black power or just white power or just, I believe that now, truthfully, from my conversations that I've had, what I've heard, what I've seen, there's a lot of people truly focusing on ending racism. Black people would love to just end racism completely. I mean, and I think that that we're
yeah, no, you're right.
You know, yeah, you already know. So I really, I really do believe that we are going to see that day. You know, I think within the next 30 years, it's going to be not eradicated, but it's going to be significantly reduced. Believe it or not. So it's an interesting thing.
You pointed out a great fact there. You know, I think a lot of people don't think, you know, some of the things they do say, it actually does affect people. And I'm starting to tell people this these days. Don't let your patriotism be a cover for your racism. Okay. I can love my country, but I can also, you know, not like other people, or at least appreciate other cultures. I think a lot of people are using their patriotism as a cover for racism, and we're seeing that discussion take place. And at the same time, people aren't even looking at why did Colin Kaepernick take the knee to raise awareness about police brutality. So yeah, the killings are still happening, but yet we're still choosing to look at the issue of race, of where they're saying we're disrespecting the country. It's like, no, I can respect the country, but still take a stand. And so a lot of people are actually having to have this conversation instead of just, you know, watching football, instead of still having these same mannerisms, these same things go on. So I think you're right.
Yeah, it's a turning point, man. This is a big ripple in space-time, huge ripple in space-time, and it's going to be felt for many, 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 many generations moving forward on this timeline. And I'm happy that it happened because we have a chance to be a part of witnessing the change that's going to occur on this planet because we're still young enough to be able to see it. So it's you know, it's a good time to be alive. And with all this crazy stuff going on, I love being a part of something that has to do with a major shift in consciousness and in human behavior.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just love it, man. I love it.
That's what I'm telling people. You know, it seems like everything's going down. Everything's being broken. Everything's being destroyed. But it's what we do with these pieces that we pick up. What are we building with afterwards? So yeah, you're right. You know, this is a time of great change. Everything's happening, but that means that we can take change and what's going to happen afterwards. We can build on this.
Exactly. Hit it on the head, man. That's perfect. That's it.
That's it. That's all I can see. Well, I want to say thank you, Mr. Carson, for coming on. It is always a pleasure. And I think you said you're going to have your book done probably by January. That's what you're shooting for?
Yeah, shooting for January. I'm really shooting for before Christmas, but January would be fantastic.
Okay, well, hey, you're more than welcome to come on and promote your book whenever you have it done. I'd definitely be interested in reading it. I'm sure the audience would be as well.
Yeah, man, appreciate it, man. That's going to be fantastic. I really can't wait to get this thing out. I'm so excited, man. Yeah.
Is it your first book, or have you written any others?
No, I've just been writing a lot of articles. This is my first real published book, you know, instead of just pamphlets and handouts. And, you know, this is a real, you know, it'll be a published book in the stores and, you know, everything else. So it's huge. And then the guy who does all the Ancient Aliens books and everything, what's his name? He told me he'd love to publish one of my books.
Giorgio Tsoukalos?
Not Giorgio, the other guy who likes to sing his words.
Is it David Hatcher Childress?
David Hatcher Childress, yeah. He used to be a school teacher. Yeah, now he's a historian. Yeah, David Hatcher Childress. He owns the publishing company that produces all these, that publishes and distributes all these books. And he told me he'd do a book deal with me, so that was phenomenal too. So I got a lot of opportunities available. I got a lot of things going on, man. I just gotta just continue to grind it out and put the work in, and I'll be able to produce a lot of good things for a lot of people.
I hear that, and I think you already are. So really, thank you for coming on, Mr. Carson. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
You have yourself a good one.
You too, man. Appreciate it. Catch you later, man.
Later.
All right.